Well, all of the work that I do tends to be involved and excited about mark making. It can be as varied as things that are actually recognizable and drawn, but I love this way of whether it's a monoprint or whether it's a screen print, in working back from black to reveal an image. And sometimes that can come in unexpected ways, just by what you've put down within the ink, and then something will initiate an image, and then I work on it. And in the case of something like acrylic on acetate or cellophane, it's going to dry pretty quick, but I like that that it gives me less time to work, and you have to make marks and images and commit to stuff. And I like very much that way of working, that you don't have too much time to spend on it. You more a direct response to a piece of work. And something like this develops into a screen print like that when it's exposed and then put on several layers. Whereas, something like this monoprint, you just get one chance of it, and I like that. I'm not too bothered about editions. It can be one, it can be three, it doesn't really matter. It's the piece that matters. I'm not in it to make editions of 50 or 150, unless someone's paying me a lot of money at an editioning studio and can hit it each time. But I love that each one is its own. They can be similar, but each one that you do is going to be a different response. I have another one in here somewhere. So it's similar, but everyone's different, and you respond differently each time. And I love working on materials like acetates because it's skiddy, it's quick, but it also retains this beautiful, rich details and background tones. A piece I can that relates to, in a similar way to this one, I'm working on cellophane, is basically a cheap way of getting imagery together. So you're not paying a ton for acetate sheets. Tapes down, and you can work on it really well. And it's all about mark making, immediacy, and these sort of marks have come from sort of years of looking at natural forms and developing those and abstracting them, and something like that then develops into something like this, which I'm now taking through different colorways as well. I'm quite happy with how that's working, especially this beautiful paper, which is a Fabriano ivory, which is just off, and it works beautifully with the colors. And the way that black goes down is particularly enjoyable. Something recently that I've been doing is sort of recycling an old book, old stuff, and working with that to produce a set of prints. It doesn't relate to the text yet, but that's another piece that I think I'll be working on why and what you're doing on that text that relates to it. A couple of other things that are important are just monoprint screen prints, where you're purely mark making, and the result is unexpected, even though you've got a sense of direction of where you're going. And to achieve these, I use my friend the rubber screecher, and that is just such a beautiful little tool. Flexible, got different edges, so I can draw into it and I can scrape with it and just get these beautiful, rich monoprints that they then inform other work. So they can be more structured, like something like this, which is something I worked on, one of the earlier pieces at Ochre. And what I've been doing, by the way, at Ochre is, because it's been such a break, from when I did screen printing, it was all oil-based. That's how far back it was. So now everything is water-based. So I'm sort of relearning. And this is one of them when mistakes have been made that I can then get something that I'm sort of happy with. I brought in a couple of pieces of other work. It's like you can get targeted or branded with, oh, so you're a silk screen printmaker, or you're a printmaker. Well, I'm not. I sort of feel I'm an artist, and I just work in different mediums that excite me. And it can be monoprinting, it can be screen printing, they can be collagraphs. These aren't particularly great ones. They're works in progress to, again, get back into that, and using chincolé as a way of bringing direct colour into a piece of work. When I was introduced to collagraph printmaking about 35, even 40 years ago, when a teacher, a good friend of mine from up in the northeast, Pete Ray, had discovered it. No one knew about collagraph. It just didn't exist except in America. I think it was being done. And he introduced me to it about 40 years ago, and I started experimenting with it. These aren't from 40 years ago, but this is getting back into it. So it's not just screen printing, it's the whole process. I suppose print and printmaking is one of those processes that I love. I love the working within it, the reveal of something when it comes off the press, and having to do things in the right way, in a structured way to get great results, and knowing your machines and your presses inside out. So when things are going hideously wrong, which they often do, then you've got a good idea that, you know, if it's the press or you're just crap. So that's, you know, it's something about printing and printmaking that I love. And it could be, it has been inspired by people like, coming across people like Tapis, Degas monotypes, which I thought were fantastic, and purely just black and white, because sometimes you get involved with printmaking and there's the possibility of every colour in the rainbow, and that can be a drag and pull you back. And I like the way you could lead off with just black and white and those in-between tones. So you could do nothing but black and white and be happy. So I'm quite selective and thoughtful when I introduce colour, which I love, and it's those subtleties. Say when you're mixing an ink cup, I absolutely love that. That's one of my favourite elements, and I'm not necessarily, although it does help because of the years in graphic design, going through something like a Pantone swatch, but I'm not using that to dictate my colours. It's more coming from my head and being a bit like a chef is with food. You've got an idea of what colour you might be wanting, or you've seen, or you're going towards, and that will influence another colour and the balance between the two or the three. And I love that I don't go and meticulously mix so many grams of this to so many grams of that, because I'm not after an addition. I'm after 1, 2, 3 type of prints. So, but the colour is really important, and I really love it.
Tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into printmaking?
Yeah, well, it's, I went to art college, went to foundation. It's the best thing that had ever happened, because I was the only thing that careers advice officers gave you at the time was like from the northeast, in the industrial northeast. Is, do you want to work with your hands or do you want to work in an office? Which is like, well, I like working with my hands, so you were directed towards manual work. But having gone to sixth form and found out that becoming an architect involved a copious amount of maths and physics, I ended up joining a band, playing music, getting involved with the art, the art room, and doing the worst A-levels possible. But it did make me go to foundation, which was the start of it. And getting into printmaking came later when I was at a college called the LCP at the time in the Elephant and Castle, who had a huge background in printmaking, and they had some fantastic tutors at the time. Tom Eckersley was one of the print gurus, producing screen printed posters there that many people will know. And that, the art side, the fine art side, even though I was doing graphics, there was a group of us that were hell bent on doing that. Rauschenberg, Andy Warhol were sort of heroes at the time, and someone who had just left, Neville Brody, was he was given a bad time, but we loved that he also came from a painterly background, and we wanted to sort of join go that way. And there was Bernie Blair, one of the print tutors, because we did different blocks, so we got printmaking. And I just fell in love with it. And those little things, and I discussed this with a sculptor that I worked with later on. It's just the one thing a teacher or a tutor might say that makes you do it. And it was looking at my work, it was a litho that I was doing, and they said, you know, I love that. You're doing great work. Have you ever thought about it? And I went, that was it. The sculptor had the same thing. Someone said, have you thought about sculpting? So printmaking just lodged. It was just that little grain in my brain that drove it. And after that, having done a graphic design degree, I loved printmaking and applied and got into the Slade to do postgraduate there, working with people like Stanley Jones and Barto de Santos. And there was a brilliant screen printer called José Fruf from Portugal. So that's what I was doing. That's how I segued from graphic design into printmaking. Did a load of bad work for years, terrible painting, terrible printmaking. And I should have had about 5,000 volts up my bum to just focus me a bit more. So then I had to get work in graphic design to make a living, which I did for about 35 years, progressing up through the different scales of that. But more recently, it's having broken away from that and finding an opportunity like this at Ochre to be able to continue and re-engage with art and printmaking. Everyone works in a different way, and I think what's so important is to understand how you work and follow that. It's not you need to do sketchbooks. You don't. And your sketchbooks can be whatever they are, ripped up magazines. But mine are a sort of combination of mark making and things. And again, just which one? This one, the shapes and the simplicity. I've got quite a few other paintings that derive from this, and obviously prints that come out of these shapes. And a lot of them can be, excuse me, gleaned from, I've just got a multitude of them, you see, so I don't know what's in what. Yeah, that's my colour books. Or are things like this. I put colours down because I want to see how they look on paper before I go ahead. But then there are combinations that you think, that's great for something else. There's a whole series of stones that drawings that I did. So, and these from figs. So there are natural forms that they start off from, and then they're developed into other abstractions. So I've got lots and lots of things like that. These are a couple of, see, my chair ones come from a whole series of little chair drawings I was doing. Sofas for years, just very simple ones. That is in another screen print to do with chairs, but these simple forms I just love. Yeah, and sort of figs, rocks on beaches.
It's just so beautiful.
Just things that just really interesting. Yeah, pencil drawing all the time, even when I was doing 35 years of graphic design. Then, you know, painting and in odd spaces of time were really important to do these things. And it's, you know, the great thing with sketchbook, not everything's great. I remember seeing an exhibition which was beautiful and really, it just made any want-to-be artist feel great. And it was Matisse's sketchbooks. And it was not a major exhibition, but they're in glass cases. And the great thing was some of them weren't great. It's like, oh, so you can't do fingers either sometimes. So it was that, you know, can give you the inspiration to go on and carry on and continue. And that's what I try to do all the time. These are sort of beach drawings of pebbles and stones, which then, you know, turn into other things and then has sort of a rich text. So you can see this is sort of leaning towards print and collagraphs, and it may well become that. Yeah. This could piss off a lot of printmakers because, you know, printmakers can take themselves very seriously and very tight, very, very precious. I'm very respectful of all types of printers, but I don't embrace that. I'm more, or like to be more free-flowing than that. So, you know, I don't have to do it in that way, and print doesn't have to reside in exactly an etching or a photo etching or a screen print. It can be more than that, and that's something like this is that. And these grounds that are prepared and with modelling paste, I love them. and I love the shapes. But then when you do something unexpected and you prepare to say, right, I've got to take it further, it could live or die. And that's the important thing. You put yourself on the edge as much as possible, and it can fail. But if it does, if you don't go there, you never learn. So you do something like this, the colours mixed up, and I'm going across something that I liked and thinking, oh, Christ, I love that. These tiny little edges and different tonality within that deep, deep turquoisey teal, which, by the way, is a nightmare to mix unless you've got a tub of turquoise. That just then inspires a whole set of collagraphs that you know, or prints like this, so you put down a ground and screen print it over it and see what you get, push it into it, and that's a print for me. Because it's you know, it's a work of art. Whether it's a good work of art, I don't know. I'm not saying that, but it's fun. And the underlying thing about all this, and I chat to people about it who are sadly playing golf at my age, the gateway to death, but I'm having fun. And this is my really happy place, and I just love it. I've done it since I was a kid. I've had, you know, parents that supported that, grandparents that always had sketchbooks and pencils whenever we were around, and we just tucked up in front of the fire and drew and painted. And I've always done it and always thoroughly enjoyed it. And, you know, it's just a richness in my life. And as cliched and cheesy as that sounds, right, I really, really do enjoy it. So this, you know, the whole studio we were talking about earlier is my happy place. A bit like Moss in the IT crowd, switching on Microsoft, and that was his happy place. And this is mine. This was actually what I put in and got into the Woolwich the other year, Woolwich Contemporary, and I'll possibly put a couple, maybe this and its friends that are in different colour variations. I'm working on a completely different same image, but with this in a gold, which is I've mixed up through with aluminium oxide and acrylic, and that's printing pretty well at the moment, and with fluorescent orange backgrounds and a gold image on a gold background with the black on it as well. Yeah, that's another one I'll pull out and like. But these, yeah, that's I particularly like. I only saw that again this morning, but I thought, yeah, I do like that. The circle's a bit contrived, but these marks I like, and the colour, that subtle black teal. That's another one that sort of went wrong, and I've pulled it okay. There's, the good thing as well is to notice what you're unhappy with and what you wouldn't do again. This blotchy background, I can't stand. So I wish I hadn't done that. But that's just going to inform next time. Sort of don't make that mistake, Richard. But it's good being able to sort of obliterate something and then pull something else out of that print. It's now Waterstones. It's probably not even Waterstones on Covent Garden, but we had a deal with bookshop that we did limited edition prints and stuff for them. And this was one of a project they invited. Were there 12 people, 12 different artists from different disciplines to put stuff in a box, a pre-described shape, and that's all they were given. This is the box. Your piece of work is going in that box. You need to produce a multiple of 12 images, and this was mine. So this was. You can see, coming from a graphic design background, 88, that's how long ago that was, but I love this paper that gave me so much grief because it grew overnight and misregistered a print. But there was this big poster, one of 12. So that was a screen print from a long time ago that folds down into a book. When you're going to use paper like this and you're screen printing in a damp basement, either let your paper acclimatise so it grows. Do not go down there, print 2 colours and come back and print the next one the day after, because it won't be in register. It grew by about 2 millimetres, the bloody thing. So, but it didn't matter. It's not absolutely critical. This is a little book called Objects for Object's Sake, and they were little drawings. You can see that everything still relates. I haven't wandered too far from it, except this is very structured and very predetermined things that I would put on it and print. And I got the wonderful G.F. Smiths years ago to sponsor me the paper, and then I made them a little book. This concertina folds down into a little A6 and has a little cover that's embossed and debossed on the front. That's all there is to it, with the title Objects for Object's Sake. 1989. Can you remember that far back? Were you born then? Yes. Yeah. Those are some that I've proved. This is, you know, this Sea White's 300 gram cartridge. Normally it's 200, but this is really nice stuff. Registration is key, and something I developed from them is these little beauties for registering. So you haven't got a piece of card and masking tape. If you need it to be accurate, this is hemming tape, double-sided, so it washes away, and you just have that as double-sided. that you cut off into 3 little pieces. You pop them on the edge, just 3 bits of that, and then it's absolutely as spot on as you need. You know, you'll be able to do it blind. It's just a feeling. So these just line up. Always, and no more than 3. It's like a 3-legged stool. It sits perfect with 3. I like to have a little mini towel and a big towel. What a luxury having something like that in the studio. Just a ready supply of cleaning stuff. Those were the ready. Lift up, put it back. Now there is I just pushed it back off itself, which stops the ink going everywhere, so it just helps it become a bit neater. And then I'll do the same on the other end. So check it. Always difficult with the first one, but fair bit of pressure. And then up. And you see it snaps off. Don't hang around, flood it. You don't want it to dry in the screen and then get behind for your next print. So that is looking good. Always check your fingers. It's so easy to get a mark on them, and you just don't want that because it's expensive. And the next one, do it as well as you can and treat everything with respect and do it as well as you can, because the next person's going to come along, reuse this screen, and you don't want shit having dried in there because you make no friends. So look after your stuff for yourself and the others. And years ago, when I started this, everything would have been oil and chemical based. So you'd be coughing and spluttering over your screen wash and your terps, and your fingers would be getting pear-shaped after so many years. Sometimes at the end of clearing up, you're going to get a ghost image. It's like the Turin shroud on a towel, which has inspired other work that I've done. I came off producing, well, I produced that chair from something like this, the after residual sort of image that came